In our top stories this afternoon, Basic Education Minister Sivuyo Kwarube will shortly give an update on the department's readiness to administer the 2024 National Senior Certificate exam starting tomorrow. Eastern Cape Premier Oscar Mabuyane calls for a crackdown on illegal firearms following a spate of mass shootings in the province. Also coming up, City Power says it's conducting a thorough investigation into the deaths of two of its contractor technicians in an underground tunnel in the Johannesburg CBD yesterday. It is 12 noon. A very good afternoon to you. This is The Week Ahead on SABC News, and we're coming to you live from Johannesburg. I'm Simpiwe Ngong. Thanks indeed for joining us. And if you'd like to participate in the show, please do give us a call to share your comment or even ask a question. The number here in studio is 011-714-0680 or 011-714-0681. The Week Ahead starts right now. Now, this story leads this hour. Eastern Cape Premier Oscar Mabuyane has expressed his concern following a spate of mass shootings in the province. The latest shooting happened on Friday night in BG, where 5 people were killed. The Premier says it's important to crack down on illegal guns in the province.
The rate of crime is quite escalating as we are seeing it. It looks like we are coexisting with criminals. Almost every village, something that we are not used to. But we are relieved that police are trying their level best. But so far, it's a post factor. We really need to have a sort of a preventative. Clearly, we can only prevent these heinous crimes if we work with communities. We are able to identify, but also strengthening our crime intelligence, as we've been crying about crime intelligence. Sort of these crimes, you can see, are really organized crimes. It's not something that happens spontaneously. People plan. So definitely, I think we cannot be caught napping as a state. Definitely, we need to improve the level of vigilance, but also communities. State can only get intelligence through communities. That's why we've launched the hotlines, whether it's an extortion hotline. We would want people to really indicate in time when they come across this sad news.
City Power says it's conducting a thorough investigation into the deaths of 2 of its contractor technicians in an underground tunnel in the Johannesburg CBD yesterday. 5 contractors were replacing and repairing an underground cable that had been cut and stolen when it appears that they were overcome by fumes from a generator they were using. The Johannesburg Emergency Services managed to rescue 3 of its workers, who were then rushed to the hospital but could not save the other 2.
The investigation will basically try to find out what really happened in terms of these deaths, but also the incident in general, and we will basically feed back to the public as to what is happening. We really thank the emergency services of the city of Johannesburg for coming through to basically assist in the recovery of the people that were trapped and the rescue of the people that were trapped underground.
The latest National Food and Nutrition Security Survey, published by the Human Sciences Research Council, is painting a worrying picture about the food security status of households in the country. The survey indicates that 63.5% of households experienced food insecurity, with only 36.5% found to be food secure. Tabi Somos and video journalist Jabua Africa compiled this report.
The Northwest and Eastern Cape are found to be the least food-secure provinces. They each have 73% of the households found to be food insecure. The Northwest province also had the highest proportion of households experiencing severe food insecurity. About 25% of the households in the province were severely food insecure. One of those households is found in Knysna, 40 kilometers outside the Northwest capital Mahikeng. 60-year-old Veronica Manza looks after 6 of her children who are all unemployed. She only gets an old age grant and says they only have food for 2 weeks of the month.
The grant that I'm getting does not feed the whole family because my children are not working and their father died. I even struggle to assist my child who attends school. He cannot eat properly, like yesterday he did not eat. So when it's around the 15th, we do not have anything. We just fend for ourselves because we don't have money.
The Northwest authorities say there is a need to revamp the poverty and food insecurity program.
To do is to ensure that our people who are exposed to poverty are helped with implements and seeds and helped with markets to grow their produce to a level where they become subsistent farmers. When they become subsistent farmers, we help them in the program of government assisting subsistent farmers, that the person who might have been in the poverty and food level yesterday, in 3 months' time would have produced to a level of selling. That's the only way we are going to take our people out of poverty level and food insecurity.
Meanwhile, with many young children also affected by food insecurity in the country, a non-profit organization, Feed a Child, is urging government to do more to assist poverty-stricken children.
Every child has the right to at least one decent meal per day. Feed a Child believe that the government should intervene and make it their priority to take care of the children of South Africa. What makes children more vulnerable when it comes to food insecurity is the fact that they can't generate an income yet and therefore can't provide for themselves. The impact of food insecurity amongst children is far-reaching. Not only does it lead to hunger, malnutrition, weakened immune systems, a lack of concentration, but it also drives children to criminal activities.
The survey shows that access to land, as well as involvement in farming activities, did not play a crucial role in the food security status of households. Households with no access to land and those not involved in farming activities were more likely to be food secure compared to those with access to land and involved in farming activities. Tabiso Moss, SABC News, Disaneng.
The battle to review President Cyril Ramaphosa's decision to sign on and assent to the National Health Insurance Act is heating up. This as parties has filed their heads of argument in the Gauteng High Court in Pretoria to answer questions of law in the matter before it can be adjudicated on the merits. The applicant in the matter, the Board of Healthcare Funders, insists that the decision is reviewable and the President is obliged to furnish the records, despite the President's contention that the High Court lacks jurisdiction. SABC News senior reporter Kane Mapanga filed this report.
It's written President.
In May 2024, President Cyril Ramaphosa signed the NHI bill into law, setting the wheels in motion for South Africa to achieve universal health coverage. A move which garnered criticisms regarding its constitutionality and subsequent promises of court action should it be signed into law. One party which kept its promise is the Board of Healthcare Funders. The BHF charges in its heads that the High Court has jurisdiction and it is called upon to adjudicate the legality and rationality of the President's decision. This is to the extent of whether the President took all of the necessary steps in terms of Section 79, subsection 1, whether the rationality of the President's decision was poisoned by a failure to take the submissions of stakeholders into account, and whether the President exercises power within the constitutional bounds set by Section 79, subsection 1 of the Constitution. Head of Research at the Board of Healthcare Funders, Charlton Murove, elaborates.
I think the frustration of a lot of stakeholders is that ever since the NHI process began, there has been extensive engagement in that process. There has been research and input given to the process of bringing this bill into law. And the greatest regret has been that this has not been taken into account. So we now are sitting with a piece of legislation which really does not reflect that engagement process or the input that was provided.
The President, however, in the signing of the bill into law, differed.
The parliament that adopted this legislation was democratically elected, and its members carried an electoral mandate to establish the national health insurance. So they did not just dream of it on their own, much as they were inspired by what the drafters of the African Claims said in 1943, but they were very careful in making sure that it goes through Parliament, various committees, various consultation processes, and it is carefully considered by all and sundry, including myself as president. Having given it due consideration, I have now arrived at the conclusion that it must be an act of Parliament.
In addition, in his heads of arguments, the president contends that the BHF's case is a constitutional one and does not fall within the jurisdiction of the High Court, but rather the Constitutional Court, contending that only the Apex Court can determine whether the president failed to comply with his constitutional obligations. As a result, the president seeks a dismissal of the BHF's bid, which he contends is quote-unquote fatally defective. A date has yet to be set for hearing. Kani Mapanga, SABC News, Johannesburg.
And moving further afield now, the holiday home of Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has been hit by a drone launched from Lebanon. Israeli officials said it caused superficial damage and no casualties and described the attack as an assassination attempt by Hezbollah. Meanwhile, Israel's wars in Gaza and Lebanon continue to rage unabated after the death of Hamas leader Yahya Sinwar. Gaza's Civil Defense Agency says 73 people have been killed in an Israeli strike in Beit Lahia in northern Gaza. It says many more are wounded, with some still trapped under the rubble of the residential block. An Israeli official said that the military was checking reports of casualties following the airstrike on Beit Lahia. But they said a preliminary examination suggested that the numbers published by Hamas were exaggerated and did not necessarily match the information available.
We are the victims of protection fee.
You can't do anything because if you don't pay, they'll kill you.
I'm homeless.
We cannot give no respect to no one whose position comes from that point of arrogance.
The mafia groups are said to be demanding as much as a 30% share.
You call them construction mafias, I call them business forums, because all what they need is crying for help.
Police have shot and killed 3 suspects in the Mthatha West area.
It's alleged that they were part of a ring of extortionists who were demanding a protection fee from local residents.
We will not hesitate to do it tomorrow if such an attack happens again. We will go out and hunt them.
Welcome back. The Minister of Basic Education, Siviwe Kwarube, is about to brief the media on the readiness to administer the 2024 NSC examinations. Let's now take you live to Pretoria.
As well as the DDG and the Chief Director for Examinations. So the order is that we are going to ask the Minister to start and make her opening remarks, and then the program will flow from there. Minister will lead us. Minister, without any waste of time, I'm going to ask you to please come through to take us through your remarks. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Elijah. And a very good morning to our colleagues, our media colleagues, and our DBE officials. And a good morning to the Deputy Minister, Dr. Mhaule. Thank you very much for joining us for this state of readiness. So today we are briefing the nation on the country's state of readiness for the 2024 National Senior Certificate Examinations. These examinations are not only a critical milestone for the learners that are involved, but they also represent the cumulative efforts of our education system, our schools, our communities, and of course the Department of Education. With just hours to go before the first paper is written, I am proud to announce that we are ready to administer the 2024 NSC exams, holding ourselves to the best-in-class integrity, security, and efficiency of standards. Outside of the national and local government elections, I've yet to learn of any other logistical project of this magnitude, because we are rolling this out across all 9 provinces in various communities. This year, we have 727,121 full-time candidates, 155,215 part-time candidates who will be sitting for this exam. And that is a total of 882,336 candidates across South Africa. Concerning private schools, there are 16,400 learners who will be taking the IEB exams. These learners have faced a range of challenges throughout their academic journeys, mainly due to the impact of COVID-19 in the earlier schooling years. The class of 2024 entered grade 8 in 2020, right at the height of COVID-19 pandemic. This disruption caused by the pandemic during these formative years has had a lasting impact on their learning. Over the course of the academic journey, the department has instituted several mitigation measures to address these gaps. These interventions were part of the Learning Recovery Program, which aimed to mitigate the effects of the pandemic and to ensure that learners could make up for lost time. Some key initiatives supporting the class of 2024 have included personalized learning interventions, additional teaching support, socio-emotional care. Equally, provinces have rolled out face-to-face extra tuition sessions, Saturday catch-up programs, and extended school hours in key subjects, especially for the learners who struggled to cope with the curriculum due to content, due to earlier disruptions. These targeted interventions focused mainly on subjects of high enrollment, such as mathematics, life sciences, and business studies. In addition to classroom-based interventions, learners have also benefited from extensive support in the form of revision materials, past question papers, online resources that have also been made available to us through private-public partnerships. Our stakeholders such as Vodacom, MTN, the National Collaboration Trust, and other corporate partners have been instrumental in assisting us to make sure that our learners are catching up and they have the extra support that they need. Indeed, the adage "it takes a village to raise a child" is true, and that is evident in the education sector like no one else. Civil society and private sector support in helping create an environment is deeply felt. I want to encourage more members of the private sector and civil society to support the education sector as we face severe budget constraints. The system now is under strain and it needs your help. Ladies and gentlemen, the last push program by the various provincial departments has played a crucial role in ensuring that learners can consolidate their learning in the final days before the exams. These efforts have been aimed to ensure that no learner is left behind. Various provinces convened winter, spring, and other matric camps to take matriculants away from disruptions at home and social ills that could potentially distract them. In the last push, we have seen learners give their complete focus and attention to the upcoming matric exams. Furthermore, the department has ensured that our learners with disabilities are adequately catered for. Special accommodations, including braille papers, large print, the South African Sign Language adaptations, have been made to ensure that learners have all the resources and support they need to succeed. I now turn on to the readiness of the exam system to administer the 2024 NSC Matric examinations. The setting, printing, and distribution of question papers has been completed, with a total of 162 quality-assured papers approved by Umalusi for this year's NSC exams. Taking lessons from previous instances of editing errors, the department has introduced additional quality gates for extra layer of checks. In terms of security, the department has taken extensive precautions to safeguard the integrity of the examination process. We have completed audits of all storage facilities across the country to ensure that they meet the required standards for secure handling of examination materials. All exam materials are stored under strict conditions, and provincial education departments have been equipped with SOPs to ensure the safe and secure handling of question papers from printing all the way to distribution. Furthermore, distribution trucks will be equipped with tracking systems to monitor their movements to ensure that question papers reach exam centers on time without compromise. As a department, we will monitor 6,334 public schools and 575 independent centers where examinations will be conducted. To ensure the integrity of the exams, we've deployed 70 part-time monitors to oversee high-risk centers. Additionally, at least 70% of examination centers will be monitored per session. These efforts will help to prevent irregularities such as group copying or leakage of exam papers. Once the exams are completed, then the focus will shift to the marking process, which is a critical part of ensuring the credibility and the fairness of the NSC exams. The department has appointed over 55,000 qualified markers across 188 marking centers nationwide. These markers have been selected based on a strict criteria to ensure that only experienced and qualified educators participate in the marking process. To further ensure consistency and fairness, marking standardization meetings will be held on each subject. These meetings bring together subject specialists, chief markers to ensure that all marking is aligned with agreed upon standards. External moderators from Umalusi will closely monitor the process to ensure that there's no variation in the quality, the accuracy, and the marking across the different provinces. The department is also fully aware of the potential risks that could compromise the integrity of the examination process. And so in addition to security measures, as I have mentioned before, we are closely collaborating with the National Joint Operations Committee and the Provincial Joint Operations Committees, so the NAT JOGs and the Prov JOGs, to ensure that security is always maintained. These partnerships will make sure that will help us manage any emerging risks, and we will be able to respond swiftly to any threats that may be able to arise. We are also engaging in an ongoing campaign to promote exam integrity among learners and their families. 2 days ago, I joined the matriculants of Pretoria Central High School in a national pledge signing ceremony. The provincial MECs of education also led pledge signing ceremonies in their various provinces. All learners now have signed what we call an exam pledge, in which they make a declaration to uphold the principles of honesty and integrity throughout the exam period. The pledge reinforces the importance of ethical conduct and discourages any attempts to engage in dishonest practices. Additionally, pledge signing ceremonies have been held in schools across the country to publicly reaffirm the learners' commitment to these values. Despite the challenges faced by the class of 2024, we are confident that our collective efforts have prepared them well for the upcoming examinations. Their journey has been one of resilience and determination, and we believe that they will rise to the occasion. Finally, to the learners, this is your moment to shine. You have worked hard over the past 12 years, and now you have the opportunity to showcase your knowledge, your skills, and your determination. We are confident that you will approach these exams with the focus, the discipline, and the commitment that has brought you this far. Please stay off Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok, and any other social media to minimize disruptions during this critical time. To the Department of Basic Education, along with our provincial counterparts, much has been done to prepare the NSC exams, but we must be vigilant. I am proud of the learners, the teachers, the schools, the provincial departments, and the DBE for the way in which they have prepared the system for the NSC of 2024. But we must remain vigilant until the very last exam is written. This requires the support of all South Africans and all stakeholders in respecting this precious opportunity of our young people to give them the support that they require. And we are asking communities to please support us in ensuring that there's minimal disruptions to these matric exams. These are important exams for our learners, and we want to make sure that there are no disruptions at all, that there are no protests at schools, there's no protest action in our communities, so that we can make sure that we insulate our learners from outside disruptions as much as possible. We are also pleading with my colleagues in Parliament and various other legislatures and local councils that oversight visits must please be minimized during this time. We want to make sure that there's absolutely no disruptions at our schools. This is a big moment for our matriculants. We want to make sure that they are able to write in peace and that we give them the requisite space. And so I do ask my colleagues, while there may be a desire to go and view exam centers, that we give our learners space to be able to do this. I know you remain committed to ensuring that the 2024 exams are administered with the highest integrity. These examinations will not only serve as testament to the quality of the education we deliver in our classrooms, but also as a stepping stone to the future success of our learners. The eyes of the country are now on us. We dare not fail. In closing, I wish all our learners the best for the exams. You have the support of your teachers, your families, your communities, and of course, you've got the support of the Department of Basic Education and this team. Approach these exams confidently and know that the nation is rooting for your success. Ladies and gentlemen, I declare the country absolutely ready for the 2024 NSC Matric exams. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Minister. I'm going to now ask Dr. Mthembu, the DDG for Curriculum, to please lead with the first part of the presentation. Dr. Mthembu, please come through. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, Minister of Basic Education, Deputy Minister of Basic Education, the Director General of Basic Education, colleagues from the Department of Basic Education, colleagues from the media houses. We are now presenting the state of readiness for the 2024 National Senior Certificate Examination. It comes in two parts. In fact, what we are presenting are two sides of the same coin. The other one cannot succeed without the other. If you don't prepare learners well, then you will have problems in the administration. But if you don't have good administration, then you will also have a problem with resulting the same learners. We are going to present then the academic state of readiness or the learner preparation state of readiness, and then from there we'll get to the readiness of the system, which we call administrative readiness. Now, in 2024, what we did, in fact, starting from 2023, we profiled the class of 2024. We had to know their strengths and weaknesses. And then we also had to outline their journey from the General Education and Training certificate band to the Further Education and Training band. Now, the main intention was to identify their strengths and weaknesses as well as challenges in certain subjects. Now, that would help us to tailor curriculum support programs that suits the characteristics of the cohort without forgetting the standard that they must attain in 2024, because the Department of Basic Education believes in the Kaizen philosophy, continuous improvement. Now, this cohort exited the general education and training band with very strong background in home languages. And also they were not weak in the natural sciences, economic management sciences, social sciences, and mathematical sciences. So when they got to grade 10, they were ready to make their choices of subjects so that they get ready for the grade 12 exams. They were affected by COVID-19, just like the cohort of 2023, cohort of 2022, cohort of 2021, and cohort of 2020. Therefore, what happened for this cohort is that they were lucky to get teachers who were experienced in dealing with teaching and learning under the COVID-19 situation. And also, what you want to talk about is the fact that they benefited from recovery. The Department of Basic Education did not waste the crisis. Out of the crisis, more and more programs were made available as part of the recovery program, and they benefited from the recovery program because they got targeted instruction, personalized learning, additional support, socio-economic support, emotional support, and extra learning. Now, in this way, they started to regain knowledge, skills, competencies, and even confidence that they are not going to be affected negatively by COVID-19 on their way to grade 12. Also, they benefited from the relaxation of social distancing, because that's when now they were able to do group work, peer assessment, and all the things that need them to get together. Also, in grade 10, they were able to complete the curriculum because there were no disruptions, and in grade 11. So they wrote a full exam in grade 10 and grade 11. This helped them then to be exam fit. But also because we did not waste the crisis, they also benefited from a lot of material which we developed during the times of COVID-19, because we had to get material for learners to learn at home, new notes, and also electronic material. So those were the benefits they had. And in terms of examination fitness, remember in grade 8 and grade 9, they were writing standardized tests instead of examination. But in grade 10 and 11, they wrote a full examination and a trial examination, which made them to be exam fit. But also, this cohort is also benefiting from the Director General's examination fitness module. It's a booklet which was directed by DG to say, having done everything, let us have a booklet that is going to tell them about kinds of action verbs in the exams, how to answer different types of questions, and some of them go with this DG's module up to university because it talks about study methods and other things. Then we have said that they were strong in home languages and they were also not poor in content subjects just because of support given. But in grade 10, we had to continue assisting them, and we focused mainly on teacher support so that those support packages provided to schools included lesson plans, subject information PowerPoints, topic tests, WhatsApp information, also learner support mainly in content, and also using broadcast lessons. By the way, what we are talking about is just a drop in the ocean of support, because support is at school level, it's at the district level, it is at provincial level, as well as national level. So here we cover the main areas of support. But if we can discuss support from school level up to national level, we can write volumes and we can spend days. Then also we had support provided to them in grade 11, a lot of support, but some of the areas of support were extra tuition, recorded lessons in gateway subjects, revision material, and the activities in the practical subjects. Focus support was also given to learners doing mathematical sciences, tech maths, mathematics, and mathematical literacy. Remember, in this system, none of our learners come out of this system without any form of mathematics. Others come out with technical maths, others come out with pure mathematics, others come out with mathematical literacy. All those are the forms of mathematics. And then we then focused on the gateway subjects. These gateway subjects are the high enrollment gateway subjects, like accounting, business studies, history, physical science, mathematics, and so on. The main reason why more and more support was given here is that these subjects are offered by the largest number or the highest percentage of learners. The main focus there was orientation workshops at the beginning of the year, very important. Also, teacher networking was encouraged, and we also provided extra material, and we provided weekend and afternoon classes as well as morning classes. And also in that one, we also looked at the novice teachers, those teachers who are teaching the subject for the first time, who are coming from the colleges. More support was given to those teachers. Also, the schools where the subjects, these gateway subjects, were introduced for the first time, they were the focus of support. And also the schools which are offering Matric for the first time. And then we also went on to art subjects. These subjects are growing now, especially dramatic arts. Then there we focused on how they should handle assessment, how they should handle the practical work, or what we call the PET, practical assessment tasks. And we also looked at how we provide them with more and more material as growing subjects. And then there are 9 specializations where we have civil technology with civil service, construction and woodworking, and we have electrical technology with digital systems, PowerPoints and electronics, and then we have mechanical technology with fitting and machining, automotive, as well as metalwork. Now, those specializations are important, and for us, we thought we need now to focus on them as well, including other subjects. And then we provided more support, like the provision of curriculum resource packs for them, the focus on the underperforming schools in these subjects, and also the supply of notes to supplement the available texts. And then we did that in all...
right, we have to cut out of that briefing. That was the Deputy Director General responsible for the curriculum, Dr. Panim Tembu, just outlining the curriculum plans they have. And earlier we heard from the Minister of Basic Education, Siviwe Kgarube, saying that and declaring that the department is absolutely ready to administer the NSC exams for 2024. And she did assure parents and the 880,000 Matric candidates that they are ready, all systems go, and they are in collaboration with the net joins to insulate the students and the pupils from any external forces that may want to disrupt the examinations. All right, that briefing was coming to you live from Pretoria. But for now, let's take a quick break. We'll be back shortly.
When you're as hot as Shongi, you attract a lot of attention. No, she's not the hottest new A-lister. She's a hot summer saver with Outsurance. Shongi, with Outsurance winning Best Insurer awards, how's that experience for you?
You feel special every time you call. You feel like you're the only customer that Outsurance has, like walking on the red carpet.
Did they flash that hot summer saving?
$800.
$800?
$800, man.
You always get something out. Go to outsurance.co.za for a 10-minute car insurance quote that could save you thousands.
We are the victims of protection fee.
You can't do anything because if you don't pay, they'll kill you.
I'm homeless.
We cannot give no respect to no one whose position comes from that point of arrogance.
The mafia groups are said to be demanding as much as a 30% share.
You call them construction mafias, I call them business forums, because all what they need is crying for help.
Police have shot and killed 3 suspects in the Mthatha West area.
It's alleged that they were part of a ring of extortionists who were demanding a protection fee from local residents.
We will not hesitate to do it tomorrow. If such an attack happens again, we will go out and hunt them.
Welcome back. This is the week ahead on SABC News. Let's now move on to a story that raises important questions about accountability, about forgiveness and celebrity influence. Now, the upcoming concerts of American singer Chris Brown in South Africa have reignited controversy, highlighting his troubled past and sparking concerns about domestic violence. The 2009 assault on fellow musician Rihanna remains a dark stain on his reputation. Now, Women for Change, a local organization fighting for women's rights, has launched a petition calling for the concert's cancellation. But where does the public stand on this issue? Our producer Sandile Hlangane took to the streets to gauge public opinion and explore the complexities surrounding Chris Brown's visits. Let's now find out what South Africans have to say.
Controversy surrounds international R&B and pop sensation Chris Brown's upcoming concert at the FNB Stadium in December. A petition by women's rights activist group Women for Change is calling for the cancellation of his shows and the withdrawal of his visa due to his past history of domestic violence. The petition has garnered over 30,000 signatures, but Chris Brown seems unfazed. He responded to the petition saying, "Can't wait to come." We spoke to Bulelwa Adonis, spokesperson for Women for Change, about their petition.
This is bigger than Chris Brown. For us, we are not wavering away from the work that we already do. We're an organization that fights against gender-based violence. We educate people about it and we do online victim support. So by doing this, number one, our community also reached out to us and said, please do a petition. And then we came together as a team and we said to ourselves, looking at this individual's history, despite him being very popular, despite him being a beloved artist and people being huge fans of him, the reality is we're speaking about an individual that has many accusations to his name, that he's been alleged of many things. And a lot of people are under the assumption that we're fixated on the whole Rihanna saga. But the reality is Chris Brown had many other allegations long beyond Rihanna. I can't remember the story of this year, but there's another story I know that he was accused of assaulting a woman, if I'm not mistaken, or a woman accused him of raping or assaulting her in 2022. So these are just examples of the fact that this individual, in our eyes, we feel like he's not rehabilitated. So we feel like we already have enough problems of our own. Country like South Africa, we are already deeply plagued by gender-based violence. We're rape capital of the world. Our femicide rate is 5 times higher than the global average. So that in and of itself gave us the initiative to say, you know what? We have our own predators, we have our own problems. It doesn't help us to bring an external factor to who adds to the issue.
It's clear that Women for Change's petition hasn't deterred fans. Many are still planning to attend the concert regardless of the controversy.
with the backlash that we're receiving, with the hatred and the death threats that we're receiving collectively as an organization, individually, those who know us, it's been a lot of women that have been coming for us and gunning us down. And, you know, it's hard because I saw a video that touched my heart this morning that said, being in the activism space, it has to be a calling to some extent, because you're in the space and you've helped these people, but the same people you're helping will still be the same people that hate you, will still be the same people that threaten you and speak ill of you when you speak about one of their favorites. So my short answer is no. It's a bit sad, but it doesn't change our attitude. I'm not gonna lie. We are still human beings at the end of the day, so it does sometimes hurt, but what ignites us or what motivates our work is, if we don't do it, who will do it? So whether it's women or not, whether it's women or men, whether, you know, irrespective of who's bought these tickets, the reality is we're not going to waver away from the work that we do, you know. So
but what do South Africans think? We took to the streets to find out.
I think Chris Brown stays in America, ne? So me, I'm not a fan, exactly. So whether he comes or not, he comes in a country, I won't get anything, so it does not affect me because I'm not a fan. I don't like his music, not about the Rihanna thing, but it won't affect me. So whether he comes or he does not come, it's the same thing to me.
I feel like, yes, it wasn't right, and people shouldn't be like, it wasn't done to them or anything, so they don't care about whatever that he did. But at some point, we just gotta move past some things. You can't judge a person based on what has happened to them.
I am going to the concert. I bought a ticket, super excited, and I can't wait for December. It's only fair that we actually forgive him, that he served his sentence. And just the same way with Juke, we forgave him. He served his sentence, and I believe it's actually fair that he's coming. And finally, we have someone from America coming to South Africa.
The debate rages on. Will Chris Brown concerts go ahead as planned in the motherland?
The past 3 decades of democracy have seen the rise and success of black farmers across the country. And one of them is the 55-year-old Bonsmara stud breeder Mwalusi Duncan Serapelwane of Morokweng in the northwest. Serapelwane breeds pure Bonsmara genetics and employs a number of people across 3 farms. He now mentors farmers across the continent. SABC News reporter Tumelo Setlabetsi visited him and compiled this report.
My name is Mwalusi Duncan Serapelwane. I was born in the village of Morokweng. I grew up there, and I came here in this farm, Taylor Span, in the year 2011. Coming from another farm called Fanikerk, where I started my farming business. A bit of my background, I'm a qualified teacher. Taught for a period of 7 months, and then I joined the then Consumer Council. And after Consumer Council, I went into the insurance industry for a period of 5 years. And then I went into the banking sector for 1 year. And then it was in the year 2002 where I left formal employment and went into business and farming. And I have been in this business now, I think for 20 years. And since ever I came here, I think my farming has improved gradually in the farm Taylor Span. Now this farm Taylor Span is very close to the border of Botswana. My last camps are on the border line of South Africa and Botswana. And this is where I am. But at least since I've been here, theft, it's not much of a problem. Yes, they have stolen at one point, but since then it has been very quiet.
The dawn of democracy symbolized new beginnings for this passionate farmer, encouraging him to do more.
I think 30 years into democracy, the present government has done some changes, some improvements, and I think if they can rely on some aspects, they will do more. I mean, if you take from since ever they came into the picture, there are some land that has been given over to our fellow black farmers to use. And I think I'm one of the beneficiaries in this particular sector. And if I were to talk about myself, when I started in 2002 to start farming full time, I mean, I had about 22 cows. And from my first farm that I had, Fanikerk, to where I am now, there are some serious improvement. And I think other farmers can also follow suit.
The gift of his success he shares with the younger generations, inspiring them to become future agricultural leaders.
I came here as a student doing my practicals here in 2022. I came here around July. And then thereafter, in December, after I was done with my practicals, he then gave me a cow, a pregnant cow for that matter. A pregnant cow that gave birth to a heifer. He then said to me, this is a token of appreciation because of how you worked with me and how you are keen on doing this thing. You are not like forced to do it, but you are doing it out of love and you have passion for it. So I'm giving you this as an encouragement and as a token of appreciation to show you that in farming there is really life. This is a business and it's a short business, even though it might be slow, but it's a short business. So he gave me that as a start to show me that he even gave me an offer to come work with him as a farm manager.
Today, as I'm standing here, it's for the 4th time harvesting the spinach. And it's making a lot of money. I can't say it, but it's making a lot of money. And then again, I'm into broiler chickens. I bought, my first batch I bought it June. Yes, there's ups and downs. You learn as you go and as you grow, and also still mentoring me all the way.
I've been with Mr. Duncan or Malusi Bonsmaras for a period of 3 months now, and within that 3 months I learned a lot in terms of both small stock and cattle farming, and also his motivation is the one that keeps us going within as workers within his farm.
For these young farmers, being born in the democratic dispensation has brought them great opportunities.
30 years of democracy, the development is much visible, and you can attest to it that it is visible, because now the things that were being done before have improved very much to what we are doing now. Because in the olden days, when you introduce your bulls, there were no things such as controlled breeding, there were no things such as restricted breedings.
Even though there is so much unemployment around South Africa, there is so many things that they can do. I mean, I started very small. So far, so good. I mean, I'm surviving. Every day is like I'm going to the office. When I wake up in the morning, I come to the garden. Before I come to the garden, I check whether the chicks are still fine. So if they can just save 200, 200, 200, 200, I think they are using more than that every day or every month.
One thing that I've learned within this 30 years of democracy is that the farming is something that develops day by day. As much as technology develops, also farming develops. So there are more advanced way of doing farming nowadays than in the previous years.
Sirapelwane also sells about 100 winner calves and around 10 bulls annually.
If you take these bulls to a hot area, they will survive, and they will survive anywhere. So this is what you must expect next year at my 3rd Mwalusi Bonsmara auction. And the other thing is you can look at the temperament of these bulls. They are very calm, very relaxed. You work with them very nicely. You don't have those bulls with funny temperament or whatever. So this is what one will expect. This is what you breed to put on the table for the farmers.
As the dusk of 3 decades of democracy sets, Sirapelwane says the sun will rise again for all resilient South Africans. Tumelo Sitlhabetsi, SABC News, Morokweng.
And moving further afield, Cuba's government has announced that it has successfully restored electricity to nearly 1/5 of the island population after 2 nationwide power grid failures within a 24-hour period left millions of people in the dark. Residents have protested in the capital following the latest blow in the nation of 10 million already suffering from dramatic shortages of food, medicine and fuel. The government points to deteriorating infrastructure, fuel scarcity and increasing demand as the reasons behind the worsening blackouts that have left much of the island in darkness for up to 20 hours a day. Meanwhile, strong winds and rain began to buffet much of the Caribbean island ahead of the arrival of Hurricane Oscar, which is expected to hit the northeastern Cuba in the coming days. And with that note, this is the week ahead. Thank you so much for being with us for this Sunday afternoon. We'll continue with more news at the top of the hour. See you in just a moment.
The current system is definitely not sustainable. South Africa is one of the few countries around the globe whereby huge amounts of money are spent on healthcare, but without tangible benefit to the population. This is because these huge amounts are spent on very few people. To put it in figures, South Africa spends more than 570 billion rand on healthcare a year, but 51% of it goes to only 14% of the population, and the remaining 49% has to sustain a whopping 86% of the population. This is gross inequality, which should not be allowed anywhere in the world.
The Full View, where accuracy meets fearlessness in every report.
We're committed to going beyond the headlines, ensuring you get the complete picture.
From breaking news to uncovering the truth while holding those in power to account.
Navigate the terrain of local and international sports,
while keeping you abreast with real-time weather updates.
So, get a comprehensive look of the world around you.
Trust us to give you
the full view.
Stories Untold is about individuals who are strong, brave, and resilient. It's about individuals who take responsibility for their lives and believe in second chances.
We amplify the voice of the marginalized. We are a platform of recovery, a platform of hope, a platform of victory.
An absolute pleasure and a privilege to trailblaze content that boasts of inclusion, the type that represents stories of everyday Africans who do extraordinary things.
We all have a purpose on the universe. What's yours?
Catch Stories Untold on the SABC News channel every Sunday at 8:30 p.m.
In our top stories this hour, the battle over the president's decision to sign the National Health Insurance Act intensifies. The latest National Food and Nutrition Security Survey paints a worrying picture about the food security status of households in South Africa. In international news, the holiday home of Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has been damaged by a drone launched from Lebanon. It is at 1 p.m. Central African time, and a warm welcome back to the week ahead on SABC News. We're coming to you live from Johannesburg. I'm Simpiwe Ngone. Thanks indeed for joining us. Remember that you're still welcome to participate in our conversations this afternoon. You can give us a call on our studio number. It's 011-714-0680 or 011-714-0681. Thank you so much for watching. The week ahead starts right now. Murder for insurance is once again under the spotlight in South Africa. Now, this follows the arrest of a police officer in Limpopo who allegedly killed 6 people and pocketed around 10 million rand in insurance claims. In KwaZulu-Natal, a mother whose daughter was murdered in a case of mistaken identity, that is seeking justice. The murder of Londiwe Shongwe is linked to a case of insurance fraud.
It was just days after Christmas and the Shongwe family had gathered for an event. At around 9 o'clock that evening, Cindy Shongwe left the gathering to return home. After going to bed, she was awoken by the screams of her 24-year-old daughter, Londiwe, calling out to her mother. She says she heard a loud bang, saying she initially mistook this for fireworks. Minutes later, her elderly mother called out, saying Londiwe had been shot. Shongwe's life would never be the same. Outside her bedroom window, she found Londiwe's bullet-ridden body. Shot multiple times in the head, she died on the spot.
My child was killed, but the intended target was me. My sister took out life insurance and wanted to claim money. She sent a hitman to kill me, but he killed the wrong person. She wanted me dead.
For Shongwe and her family, though, the worst was yet to come. 3 months after her daughter's murder, she was informed by police that they'd made a breakthrough in the investigation. Her sister and 5 other suspects had been arrested and charged with her daughter's murder. Shockingly, Shongwe learned that she had in fact been the intended target. Unbeknown to her, her sister had taken out 2 life policies in her name, amounting to 100,000 rand. The accused are currently on trial, charged with 2 counts of murder and conspiracy to commit murder.
It was after my child was killed that we learned of her husband's death. She'd taken out an insurance policy for him and was paid out around 200,000 rand.
Shongwe's sister was also charged with the murder of her late husband. It's alleged he was murdered and she received a payout of over 200,000 rand.
I'm grateful to police because had it not been for them, I would have been killed alongside my child.
Shongwe believes that had it not been for the speedy investigation by police and the protection they provided her, she too would have been killed. The Shongwes say they will not find closure until all the accused are convicted and sentenced to prison. Ayinda Mhlongo, SABC News, eMacambini.
All right, let's now have a look at stories that made headlines in the Sunday newspapers. We're going to start with the Sunday Times, and this is what the Sunday Times is leading with this Sunday morning. The ANC-DA gloves are off in the GNU dust up. And if you want to get more details, just make sure that you get a copy of the Sunday Times. All right, let's now take a look at the City Press. This is what the City Press is leading with. The Great Church Heist, Bushiri's 73 million rand Ponzi scheme. If you're wondering where Bushiri is, well, just go through this story and it'll take you through where Bushiri is and what he's up to and all details surrounding his 73 million rand Ponzi scam. All right, Sunday Tribune. This is what the Sunday Tribune is leading with this Sunday rather. Well, the EFF councillor quits over death threats, and I do understand the political landscape in northern KwaZulu-Natal has been rocked by the resignation of an EFF councillor from the Mthonjana municipality over allegations of death threats. Now, the councillors, Phosakhe Vusumuza Majola, said he's been receiving death threats after the EFF's repeated attempts to remove him from his seat due to his alleged close ties with the IFP. That's the ruling party in the municipality. And in the sporting headline, the Proteas women in historic T20 World Cup final. In fact, we'll have an analysis with Janet Wheaton in just a moment. So that's what the Sunday Tribune is leading with. And this is what the Sunday World is leading with this Sunday afternoon. The SACP beefs up Mapaila security. Well, that's about concerns over the GNU critic's safety after a recent breach at its Johannesburg home. And the SACP is now on high alert about malicious plot to isolate its General Secretary. And Winnie Mashaba there also making it to the front page of the Sunday World. And apparently she was humiliated at Soli Moholo's funeral last weekend. So make sure you get a copy of the Sunday World to get a glimpse of what really happened to her. And Tito Mboweni also on the front page of the Sunday World. Rest in peace, Tito Mboweni. We saw the very deeply emotional funeral service yesterday at Ngwangwa Stadium in Limpopo. All right, those were the newspaper headlines for this Sunday afternoon.
Fizzy drinks and fruit juices are making our kids sick. Sugar is dumped into their bodies with every sip, leading to obesity, heart disease and diabetes as they get older. We need to protect our kids from all sugary drinks. Demand a stronger health promotion levy now. Sign the petition on healer.org.
We wanted to do something, for a different type of audience. Bring in type of artworks that might be more interesting for younger people. Also to bring in comic book art into a gallery space.
The theme is just celebrating African innovation, African storytelling.
And the fact that all of this was done by South Africans is even more of an inspiration to us, because it means that we can stand up and we can also make a difference. We can also have something in the world that's going to inspire other people.
Get in touch with SABC News. Call us if you have any news leads, stories, tip-offs, or simply issues you are grappling with as a community. Call us on 011-714-6133. Alternatively, email us at news@sabc.co.za. SABC News, your voice, independent and impartial.
Welcome back. Gauteng's MEC for Finance and Economic Development, Lebogang Maile, says in the coming days he will visit townships affected by the looting and the closure of Spaza shops owned by foreign nationals. Maile was speaking at a briefing in Sandton this morning. He also highlighted the challenges faced by South African Spaza shop owners.
Have corroborated the fact that foreign nationals dominate the Spaza shop industry in townships across South Africa. It is inevitable under such circumstances that local Spaza shop owners are frustrated by being unable to thrive in their own communities, especially as the factors behind their inability to thrive are down to the structural constraints rather than personal weaknesses. These constraints include a cost of living challenge that has eroded disposable income for local households, lack of access to credit and funding instruments for small and micro enterprises from major funding institutions, as well as lack of access to markets. This has given foreign shop owners the edge, as foreign Spaza shops are often owned through shareholding agreements, which allow for a bigger startup investment than the average investment by locals. This means they have a greater buying power, can buy in bulk, and can offer more competitive prices. Foreign-owned spaza shops also often extend credit and other goods in flexible quantities. These are factors that must be appreciated in the discourse on why local spaza shops struggle to compete. In recognizing these factors, it is also important that as a responsible government, we also safeguard the economic interests of South African citizens in this volatile global economic environment. This requires much needed public-private partnership to support local entrepreneurs and enterprises to thrive and become competitive. Their programs must be widened, and the only way to achieve this is through greater investment. In addition to this, it is also critical to protect the lives of South African residents in the face of growing public health concerns emerging from foreign-owned enterprises in townships. The illnesses and the death of young children in townships is a very serious concern, cause for concern to the Gauteng provincial government. While the provincial government awaits official autopsies to gain clear understanding on what precisely is killing and making children sick in our townships after they consume products from foreign-owned enterprises, we are also engaging with public health experts to understand the potential magnitude of the problem. This is in light of the autopsies from the last year's death indicating that an illegal substance used for the control of rodents, halipirimi, is the likely cause of death. This substance is used by households across our townships despite being deemed illegal. Various inspections have also found it present in some foreign-owned shops, which might imply lack of proper handling in light of subsequent cases of illness and death. While we await details on the recent incidents, we also appeal to parents and communities to not use halipirimi for rodents and pest control, as the substance is extremely harmful, particularly to vulnerable groups such as children.
The KwaZulu-Natal Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs MEC, Thulasizwe Buthelezi, has announced that at least one traditional leader should serve in the executive committees of municipalities in the province. Buthelezi says this will be done to afford traditional leaders a voice in the deliberations held by council members in municipalities. There have been calls in the past to include amakhosi in the affairs of municipalities so that they can represent the interests of the people living on tribal land.
KwaZulu-Natal is a predominantly rural province. Most parts of the province fall under the custodianship of amakhosi. Contractor in the province says it is for this reason that traditional leaders need to play an active role in discussions and decisions on development in their communities. The Municipal Structures Act of 1998 spells out the formula for traditional leaders' representation in council, but it also gives the MEC discretionary power to regulate the participation of amakhosi in the affairs of a municipality.
There should be at least one inkosi which will sit on the executive committee in an ex officio status to ensure that the voice of amakhosi is carried through in the decision-making process of municipalities.
The South African Local Government Association in the province says this is long overdue, as in the past, traditional leaders were informed about decisions taken at municipal level after the fact.
Municipalities are going to be assisted because whenever we discuss issues that are affecting areas of amakhosi, it will be easy now to bring service to the amakhosi's communities. Amakhosi will know what is going to happen in their communities. As much as we do that in our IDPs, we used to invite amakhosi, but going forward, amakhosi will be part of decision making rather than to inform amakhosi about what we are going to do as municipalities. But going forward, it's going to be happy that we'll have the key role players in the rural areas to be part of decision making.
Political analyst Professor Bheki Mngomezulu believes that this is a correct decision, but says Contractor should be in proper consultation on this with various stakeholders.
Did he consult his other members in the provincial legislature to ensure that there is a buy-in from them so that by the time this decision is activated, at least everybody will be agreeing with him that he did the right thing. Because if he didn't do that, then chances are this might come back to haunt him when there is resentment from his own members of the KwaZulu-Natal legislature.
Buthelezi says the role of Amakhosi will strictly be limited to participating in discussions and giving their input in Executive Council meetings, but they will not be allowed to vote. Simpiwe Makanya, SABC News, Durban.
A decision on whether or not to introduce more elephants to the Knysna forest in the Western Cape should be made by the end of next year. Well, that's according to SANParks, who say that they are planning specialist workshops and community consultations before an answer can be reached. It is believed the elusive Knysna elephant has spent decades alone in the forest, but authorities are now looking at the possibility of getting her some company.
Roaming the forest alone, the female elephant seems to be content, evading humans as far as possible. Only a lucky few had the opportunity to see her from afar.
We just spot the elephant, the back of the elephant beneath the fynbos. And then Karel get shouting, glittering because that was the first time. And from that stage, we used to follow the elephant. The elephant become like our friend. He can smell us. Even when other people are with us, that elephant come angry. But there was no day when the elephant charged us.
With about 80 camera traps set up in the forest, it was recently determined that only the one female elephant is left. SANParks is now in the process of deciding whether it will be a good idea to introduce more elephants, through workshops with experts and community input.
We know that there will be benefits if something works. Elephants always bring with them tourism and sense of place, just to name a few things. But the risks would be very important here because it's a challenging situation without any fences around it, and also because we have a failed introduction behind us in 1994. So there are various risks, and I think what we now need to find out, and that's what we're organising now with a specialist workshop that we're organising, is to find out exactly with the different kinds of reintroduction options that we can look at what the different risks are.
SANParks have cautioned the public to not seek out the elephant without permission. A repeat offender who illegally spent the night in the forest tracking her has once again been fined and could face imprisonment if caught again.
We are trying to approach this matter around the Knysna elephant in the most responsible way possible, in the most inclusive manner as possible, making sure that we look at the social issues, how communities will be affected, making sure that experts give us an input so that we have a result that's properly informed. But what we will not tolerate is then for those who interfere with these processes in this kind of like ways, in many instances as well, really for very subjective self-interest reasons, that we cannot have that, you know, and we will certainly not tolerate that as an institution. But that's not really our point of departure. You know, our point of departure is let us all please collaborate in this manner, and that's really the appeal.
The outcome of SANParks' research thus far has informed the development of a new garden route elephant management plan. The findings support a low-risk, minimal disturbance approach, aligning with the cautious stance recommended by stakeholders. Tanya Krause, SABC News, Knysna in the Western Cape.
Welcome back. The Gauteng Education Department has confirmed that all the children who were admitted to hospitals in Hammanskraal and Bronkhorstspruit with suspected food poisoning this week have been discharged. In the Hammanskraal case, 47 children aged between 9 and 14 from the New Easterist received medical treatment for gastrointestinal issues after the incident on Monday. Chocolates with the June expiry date are believed to be the cause of their illness. 25 pupils from Mshuluzane Maisela Primary School in Zitobeni, Bronkhorstspruit were also taken to hospital allegedly for food poisoning. In another incident, on the 16th of October, 25 learners from Matric Secondary School in Verena in Mpumalanga were admitted at the KwaMhlanga hospital after they complained of having stomach cramps, headaches and some even vomited. The learners had allegedly eaten acha they bought from a vendor outside the school. A group of school children began showing symptoms of itching and stomach pains about 30 minutes after eating snacks on Thursday morning. And for more on this, we're joined by the South African Democratic Teachers Union Secretary General Mugwenya Maluleka. A very good morning, a very good afternoon to you. Thank you so much for joining us and a warm welcome to the week ahead.
Good afternoon to your to viewers at home, and thank you for having us.
Now, Mr. Maluleka, these reports of poisonings are now becoming more frequent as the day progresses. Is there a tally of how many this year have been poisoned?
Well, the number is rising as we have been receiving reports from various provinces, whether it's in Mpumalanga, Gauteng, or KZN, but we're receiving this news, which is shocking. Given the fact that we had hoped that the department working together with the local government always inspect what the workers or the vendors are selling to our children. It is a responsibility of law enforcement agencies, especially the health sector of the local government, to check that there is health compliance by these particular vendors so that our children are not exposed to this poisonous food that they've been bought. It's quite regrettable that we have lost lives, and we wish to extend our condolences to the families that have already lost their loved ones. These are our children, and therefore we grieve with the families.
Well, SATU has expressed concern over the increasing number of such incidents. Are there any indications that there is a common thread in these incidents?
Yes, there is a common thread in these incidents because the report that we receive, it's always pointing at expired foods, parcels that are being sold by the vendors, and the vendors are pointing a finger at the Spaza shops where they are purchasing these goods, and the finger again points to the fact that most of the Spaza shop where they have bought these particular goods are owned by foreign nationals. So that is the threat that is common, and it really requires attention by the community and the law enforcement agencies in order to really protect the future of our children.
And at some point this week, the Gauteng department said law enforcement and health authorities were investigating one of the incidents to determine the safety of the products being sold by the street vendors. So do any of these probes serve to prevent these occurrences as they seem to continue?
No, they don't help. What we need is a comprehensive program by the SABs working together with the local government, because the only solution that we are going to see the long-term results is preventative measures. It is not reactive, because they need to ensure that everything that is being sold in this particular Spaza shop has gone through the necessary processes, and therefore there is personnel that from time to time ensure that there's compliance by this particular mass productive, Spaza shops in our country, in our townships, and so forth. So that's the only way that we can be able to address this particular problem. But if we're going to react from one case to the other, after the investigation, nothing has been said to the public. There is no transparency, there is no accountability, and we don't know what then happens to the third person who has sold to this one and that one. And so, but what we know it is that this is traumatic for our teachers. What we know it is that it's traumatic to our children and the school communities, and that's what we know. But what we don't know is what happens to these particular culprits. Are they really are they apprehended? Is there justice that is being done? That is what we don't know as the community as it is for now.
Mr. Maluleka, you keep saying that preventive measures need to be applied, but can you be more specific as to what exactly do you want to see happen?
Yes, the vendors have got to comply. The school management committee, together with the school governing bodies, have got to determine the policy of who is allowed to sell to our children, even if it is outside the school premise. These people have got to be recorded. They have got to be in a database. They have got to go through checking from time to time. The school must also establish pastoral committee that is responsible for this. And this particular pastoral committee has got to be given the support by the district and the local government through the health sector, where these people are empowered to ensure that the papers that are there, the person who is a vendor who is selling is complying with what is in the paper, what is it that has been agreed with the school that this person is going to be selling. The Spaza shop is a responsibility of the government. There is preventive measures because ordinance of the local government have got to be adhered to, and enforcement by this particular department will ensure that there is preventive measures, because these people will not just go and produce foodstuffs that we have seen people going into some warehouses that do not comply with the SABC. And the food that is being there, we don't know where it's been bought. And clearly it is that people are taking advantage of the loopholes in the law and this particular lawlessness in our country. And all these things are preventable. They can be prevented if we work together as a community and with the law enforcement agencies. We don't see it being impossible, to be honest.
And you say the authorities need to ensure the enforcement of compliance on these vendors and Spaza shops. But post-democracy, has the South African Schools Act reformed enough to reflect the socio-economic conditions in and around the public schools in order to give schools some regulatory powers to, to sort of deal with goods and services along or near the school's parameters?
Yes, regulations out of the School Act is such that the SGB has got to establish such particular committees and making sure that anyone who is in touch with the students or the learners in our schools is known, is in the database, and therefore from time to time such a person is called in to ensure that they are able to answer particular questions if there are changes in around the school system. So it is not specifically can be found in the Act, but there are regulations that are developed by the Department of Gauteng or any other department out of what is the responsibility of the school governing body in terms of the health of our children and the health of our teachers in school. It goes further to ensure that it deals with the safety and security of our children when they're at school. So they cannot be exposed to these poisonous issues if those particular committees are functional, they are supported, and then those who are serving there are empowered from time to time to ensure that there is really proactive measures that are taken.
Yeah. And as teachers, you're also members of communities and you're also parents as well. So is there a role that you can play that will sort of enhance the oversight of parents around these matters of the types of foodstuffs or vendors who sell to children? Put simply, I as a parent, and then I see a vendor operating in questionable hygienic standards and ostensibly selling stuff or foodstuff that does not adhere to hygienic standards. Do I have the right to tell that vendor to leave or to discard of whatever food? Because my children will be consuming this food. What powers do I have?
As a citizen of the country, all of us have got the responsibility to ensure that law enforcement agencies in our country are assisted, because we are the ears and the eyes of our own communities, and therefore we have this responsibility to report these incidences to the principal of the school or any other committee that has been assigned by the school governing body to be responsible for safety and security as well as health measures at the level of the school. So first and foremost is making sure that the principal of the school is aware that there is a vendor that is suspect and or the hygienic challenges that we have observed, and so that the school principal must take action with immediate effect, to including suspending that vendor immediately and not be able to sell there whilst they are going to report this matter to the school governing body or the committee that is responsible for. The principal is entitled, the principal has a right to do that immediately. You don't have to wait the school governing body, because the lives of the children or in the school premises, it is your responsibility as the principal.
And how can SADTU help in the education and the advocacy campaigns, teaching communities, teaching vendors, and even Spaza shop owners on food handling and safety?
We are working on the I Am a School campaign, which basically brings together communities, school governing bodies, student bodies, where from time to time we identify what are contemporary issues like school violence. Now is this particular food poisoning. We are going to develop a mechanism to ensure that we work with the local government, especially the health sector of the local government, to ensuring that compliance is there. But also help the school governing bodies to really sharpen their policies and deepen their knowledge around issues of safety, security, as well as health measures.
All right, Mr. Malulega, great chatting to you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Well, that was Mr. Malulega. He is the spokesperson of the South African Democratic Teachers Union, speaking to us about the ongoing incidents of food poisoning in our schools. All right, let's now take a quick break. We'll be back shortly.
From the seventh wonder of the world, whether it's land, at sea, the choppy waters of the unknown, we bring you up to speed with the latest news, traffic, and of course sports news right here on Morning Live.
To all the fun moments in life as we put the hip and the hub into your step and bring you the fun right here on Morning Live.
And not forgetting the reality of daily life. And we're here to challenge corruption in seeking the truth. My name is Knysna, serving you everything you need to make your mornings better. I'm Sakina Kamwendo, and we bring you the latest news.
Catch myself, Wosiwe Nobo, as we bring you all the latest sporting highlights.
Voted your trusted news station. Tune in every single weekday between 6 a.m. and 9 a.m. on SABC News and SABC 2.
Welcome back, and moving on to your sports news now. The South African national women's cricket team will have a second crack at a World Cup crown when they take on New Zealand in the final of the ICC Women's T20 World Cup in Dubai at 4 o'clock this afternoon. And the Proteas are quietly confident of becoming the first senior national team to lift a World Cup. SABC News sports reporter Samantha Murray joins us now live from the Wanderers Club in Ilovo. A very good afternoon to you, Samantha. Thank you so much for joining us. I would imagine the excitement is quite palpable there. What's happening?
Good afternoon, Cynthia. Yes, the excitement is building. There are fans already streaming in. We're at the Wanderers, the Bull Rink, an iconic venue for South African cricket. No better place for South African cricket fans to come and share in on the action. What a day for cricket fans, not just South Africans but around the world. Whatever happens today, whether it's another heartbreak for South Africa or a win for New Zealand, there will be a new women's T20 champion crowned this year. So that's excellent. For South Africa, yes, like you said, this is the second crack at the cherry for the women's team, having lost down to Australia last year. But this year they've beaten Australia and are looking, yes, definitely quietly confident ahead of this clash against New Zealand. I'm joined now by a couple of fans who are here to support, to be a part of the hearse that comes with South African teams participating in big global showpieces. You guys are supporting the Proteas today?
Yeah, we are definitely doing that. We're just here to have fun. And more especially, I feel like this is another opportunity for them to win and like to be exposed, because we know as girls team, the girls team is not supported like the guys team. Yeah. So this is another opportunity. I mean, it's big. That's why we are definitely here to do that. Yeah. It's exciting.
What a performance they had against Australia on Thursday.
It was fantastic, honestly. I don't have anything to say, but I just want to send love and good lucks. Mlaba, Shafta, do us all the best. South Africa, shine.
I need to go bake cloudy. Good luck, Proteas. Just want to say good luck to the Proteas, but I know they're going to make it, even through the circumstances, but they will push. Mlaba, Chafta, you go, guys.
We got some serious Mlaba fans, of course. Nonkululeko Mlaba is the second highest wicket taker in the tournament so far. She's on 10, just behind New Zealand bowler Seema Abiliaka.
All right, Samantha, let's leave you there. Thank you so much for joining us. Samantha Mari there out at the Ilovo Club in Ilovo here in Johannesburg. And we're now joined in studio by SABC News sports researcher Janet Witten. A very good afternoon to you, Janet. Thanks for joining us. Welcome.
No problem. Good afternoon.
Very difficult to predict because both teams are equally powerful, hey?
And I'm hoping that the expression that I saw, funnily enough, on an ICC, the International Cricket Council website this morning, "Hulle weet nie wat ons weet nie."
Yeah.
It's that expression's been going around, and the team have been asked quite a few questions about that, and also about the other expression that's doing the rounds in South Africa, and that's no DNA, just RSA. So, and I think I bring that up because I think it shows the feeling in the team. Samantha talked about gees, and there's gees within the team as well, not just amongst fans. So it's going to be difficult. Make no mistake, it is a final, no matter who you're playing against.
Final,
just because we're not playing either England or Australia, which most people would have presumed that we would play against, doesn't make it any easier. It's going to be tough.
And considering that this team has changed quite significantly recently and has a new coaching, a coaching team, would that make any difference?
You know what? I think it's actually been a very positive move for the team. I don't want to take away anything from Hilton Moring because he was remarkable, but he was there for a long time. Yeah. And he really took this team from nothing to being World Cup finalists last year. So don't detract from his achievements. But I think the new energy that this team has brought with them, it's led by Dylan Dupree, who was an assistant coach under Moring, and it's got people like Paul Adams is there, and the team talk about Paul Adams a lot. He's kind of a consultant spin bowling coach, kind of unofficial, whatever. But what he's become has been the person who gives them the attitude that they have and the positiveness that they have. Apparently his team talks before the game are absolutely remarkable. Laura Wolfert talks about the fact that she doesn't have to do it anymore because Paul Adams does it and she can't say anything better than he does.
Right.
And I think that's been important. And what this team has brought in as well, which we saw definitely against Australia, is planning against the opposition they're playing against in that game. They don't just play their own game. They plan very carefully and look very carefully at the weaknesses and how they think they can take advantage of the teams that they're playing against. And they've done that very well in this tournament.
And who are the standout performers for the Proteas that we will have to look out for?
We heard them talk about Nkululeko Mlava already, and she's been fantastic. She's fairly young in this team. She made her debut only in 2022. She's 24 years old, so she's kind of come through the ranks, recognised through the development programs, and picked out from KZN. But she's been really good in this tournament. She's been consistent. She took 4 wickets in one match, so she was amazing there. Ayabonga Kaka, they also mentioned, she's been a stalwart in the team. She's been there for quite a while. The 2 opening batters have been good. Wolfert, always good, recognised as one of the best batters in the world. She's so stylish. She's kind of the A.B. de Villiers of South African women's cricket. So she's been good, and she and Tasman Brits have opened really well. Annika Bosch was an interesting one in the Australia game because she's probably underperformed in this tournament, but the team were absolutely certain that she had it in her and that she would come right. And did she come right in spectacular fashion against Australia? And I think it's significant that they've played the same 11 through the whole tournament. So there's a settled nature about this team that is very important.
And Janet, just considering that New Zealand are in the final for the first time since 2010, but they do have some experience, eh?
They do have a lot of experience. Sophie Devine is one of the most experienced players in international cricket. She's been there. In fact, I think she might have even played in 2010. She's been around for a long time. Amelia Kerr, they mentioned, has also been around for a little while. And they've got a couple of experienced players, but they're a bit like us in the sense that they've got those few experienced players and quite a few youngsters coming through. They didn't expect to get through to the final. They were very happy to get to the semi-finals. So they found themselves in a position that perhaps they didn't plan for, whereas we made it to the final last year. So we would have been hoping, even though we didn't necessarily expect it, we certainly would have been hoping to get there. And I think that experience, having played in a final before, hopefully will count in our favour. We'll have to see.
I mean, of course, it's our role and duty as South Africans to support the Proteas, but just considering the fact that the New Zealand are in the final for the first time, but they do have some experience, of course, what makes you think so lowly of New Zealand that there's just going to be a walkover?
I think fans must be careful of thinking that. I think New Zealand have got to the final because they played their way to the final, and they had some really good wins. And their last match against Pakistan, when they were under the gun and they needed a big win, they managed to pull it off. So they're certainly not fragile psychologically. And so I think that our team is going to have to have their heads on and play the way and plan and play the way they've planned and play the way that they've been playing through the tournament to actually do this. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be a walkover. It may be not quite as intimidating as a match against either Australia or England or even India might have been, but it's not going to be easy.
Yeah, like you said earlier on, we were expecting to be in the final with either England or Australia or maybe even India. So what makes these teams so powerful, and what is it, or what are some of the factors that the Proteas could maybe just pick up on some of them to make it easy for them?
They certainly can, and I think the overwhelming sense is that this team just doesn't have that psychological fragility that the men's team has. The men's team is, it's such that failure in knockout matches is now such a heavy burden for the men's team to carry. Yeah. The only final that they've ever won, the men's team, is actually an age group team, was the Under-19 World Cup back in 2014 when Aiden Markram was captain of that team, and that's the only event since then. There hasn't been any success, even though they did reach the final of the last T20 World Cup, which is a step better than they've done before. So certainly, hopefully, they're kind of taking baby steps towards that. But this women's team seems to have a belief in themselves, and they understand what they need to do. They know they're not the best team in the world, and they manage to take advantage of their strengths and take advantage, as I've mentioned, of their opponent's weaknesses. And I think psychologically they're a much stronger team than the men's team, and it seems to be what people like Paul Adams has brought to this team as well, is that real belief in themselves. Laura Wolfart talks about it all the time in interviews, and in the pre-match interview that she did at the captain's press conference yesterday. She talked about it as well. Is this belief in themselves that they actually do have, that if they play to their ability, they can beat anybody, and they really do believe that. And they showed that against Australia, let's face it.
Yeah. Now, Janet, from what you've been observing, what's the level of support are the ladies getting from, sports bodies like the CSA compared to their male counterparts? And how much of that would be a factor in their performance this afternoon?
I think they are starting to get support from CSA. They're certainly starting to get recognition from fans. Success tends to do that, and they've had some success lately, but they still don't really have the full support that they probably need to step ahead, and that's the key difference between England and Australia and the rest in terms of world women's cricket, is that England and Australia have very strong professional domestic leagues now. And some of our players actually play in both of those leagues. Quite a few of our players play in Australia. Yes. And those domestic leagues are really important in just honing yourselves against the best in the world and your ability, and to be able to play cricket full time as a professional makes a big difference in the world. It really in your belief, in your ability, in your strengths, in your ability to handle different situations. Yeah. And I think that's really important that CSA continue to push hard for support and financial support for our domestic cricket, so that some of these players come through. And Nonkululeko Mlaba coming out of a development program is not the exception, but rather the rule.
And it makes absolutely no sense at all that, we have to beg these sports bodies to support our ladies, and just considering how well they are doing. Case in point is Banyana, who are doing much better than their male counterparts, but still they're not getting the necessary support that they deserve.
They've won a Nations Cup, and it's still, and they're still battling to get that kind of support. It is extraordinary. The second round of a World Cup, and Banyana are still fighting for the dregs. When I'm trying to remember when Banyana last played, and it's been quite some time, and so even at that level, in arranging regular fixtures for them is difficult. Right. And that means that team doesn't come together very often, and they're suddenly going to have to come together when they have to play a World Cup qualifier and AFCON qualifier, and the team haven't seen each other for 6 months. The players haven't seen each other for 6 months, and that makes no sense. It's really difficult, but it's a baby steps battle for women's sport in general. And I mean, you even see it in Olympic sports like swimming, where our women are far more successful than the men at the moment. You know? But they are kind of self-supported almost. They manage to, you know, they're individuals who are playing an individual sport, and they manage to organise sponsorships and things on their own. It's not the national body that's doing it for them. So when it comes to a team, it's just kind of that much more difficult because the expenses are greater. You know, it's more difficult to get that kind of support. But baby steps, we're getting there. Long way to go.
We are getting there. And just considering that we have a sports minister who is so enthusiastic. So do you actually buy in his enthusiasm that it will change the fortunes of the sporting codes in South Africa?
I think the enthusiasm is absolutely fantastic, and I think it's genuine. I really love that he's so enthusiastic. Whether he can actually follow through on some of the promises he makes, some of them, if you actually crunch the numbers, don't really make a lot of sense. Yeah. So I think it's going to be difficult for him to keep all the promises that he makes. But having said that, he makes so many promises that even if he keeps half of them, he'll be doing well. And I think just to have somebody with that kind of enthusiasm is actually great, and it brings a focus onto the sport, and he'll bring a focus onto women's sport or whatever it is that he wants to bring there, which I think is very important. So yes, some of the promises are not realistic, but I think that the mindset is important.
And then the grassroots development of sports, in particular cricket, how far are we in terms of reaching that milestone?
You know, cricket is we're a long way from cricket. Cricket has a fairly good grassroots program for real grassroots at like young primary school level. The whole system that they've had running for quite a long time is a good one. Okay. But it's not there for girls, because girls play at that level. But when they get to kind of teenage years, when they need to play in their own teams, schools don't play women's cricket. They don't. So then unless they're kind of targeted, unless they have a support system that allows them to join a club and play that kind of cricket, or unless they're at a school that allows girls to play with the boys, which some schools do. Sunay Luce talks about the fact that she played in her boys' team, but then you've got to be that good in order to actually play in those teams, because the boys don't want a girl to play in their team. So yes, I mean there's systems that still need to be put in place. There's gaps that need to be filled. It's there at the bottom and it's there at the top, but there are gaps in between that need to be filled.
All right. Janet, great chatting to you. Thank you so much for joining. I know it's an unfair question. Score predictions?
I think it's going to be very tight.
It'll be.
Last over win for the Proteas?
Okay. Why am I getting nervous now? All right, Janet, lovely chatting to you. Thank you so much for joining us. All right, that was Janet Wheaton, who is SABC sports news researcher, just giving us a preview of that all-important match between South Africa and New Zealand. All right, that was the week ahead for this week. Thank you so much for joining us. But the news continues at the top of the hour here on the SABC News channel. From myself, Simpiwe Ngwane, and the rest of the team, do enjoy your Sunday. Cheers.